Okay, so I think I would be well served to test this out here inside of the Remix editor. So in the runtime here, I'm going to ensure that I have selected the JavaScript VM environment. I'm going to ensure that I've deleted any previous deployment of the contract at the bottom here. And after doing that, I'm going to set a minimum contribution here. Okay, and in this case, I'm going to use 0 as the minimum because I don't care to test the minimum contribution right now. Then I'm going to click on deploy. Okay, and so here I have my contract, the new instance of the campaign contract. And so at the top, I have to do an initial contribution to the campaign so that I get marked as an approver. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and let's see, I probably should change over to a different, now should I change over to a different user? Let me think about this for a second. No, this is fine. I can keep this. I can keep the same user. So I'm going to go ahead and contribute 1 Ether, which I think it's fair. And then back down in the contract, I'm going to click on contribute. Okay. So I've clicked on contribute. And in the console, I should see, or I see the transaction appear and not an error message. So to create a request, I have to get an address of where to send the money to. So now to get another address, I'll go to the top, find this account drop-down menu, select the second account on the list, and then I'll toggle back to, select the second account on the list and then copy the address. It's actually what I want to do. Now, how would I copy this address? Here we go, copy the address. No, not assign a message here. Copy the address is what I want to do. All right, now I can go back to the manager. Okay, and then because only the manager can create a new request, that's why I'm doing that. And so down here in the request, that's where I'll start adding. So like I'll create a string of, let's say, buy batteries, right? And so that's a string. So remember, the create request, so it has to be a description. It has to have a value. And we haven't specified whether it's Ether or Way or what, so I'm just going to do several 9s there. And then finally, I'll paste the address. Whoops. I think I want to make sure that I do that as a string. Okay. Now, I'm going to click on, you guys may have noticed this, but I was doing all this on the wrong area. I should here in create request. And now make sure you're putting this inside of create requests and not requests. So now I should be able to click on the create request button and see the new request created. Okay. Now I should be able to retrieve requests from the array of requests. So if I enter 0, because this is 0 indexed, right? Enter 0 and click on the request button. There we go. Now I see 0 first index, or the first one is string description by batteries. The value, this is the address of the recipient. This is the Boolean complete false, and approval count of 0. Okay, so it should be marked as false, by the way. So this is good, not completed. And the approver count should start off as 0. So all this is good. Now I did not get back any information for a mapping, and there's not a way to retrieve and return an entire mapping. We cannot iterate through the keys or values of a mapping. It is solely a lookup object. We can store records, but we can't iterate or retrieve records. The next thing I want to do is attempt to approve the request and verify that the approval count goes up by 0. So back down to approve request, right here, approve request, I will enter in a 0, like so, and then click on, make sure I'm doing this right. So enter 0, then click on approve request, okay? Now, if I try to retrieve the request at 0 and click on request now, you see the approval count has gone up by 1. Now, if I try to approve the request a second time, let me clear out this console. So if I try to approve the request a second time, I should get a big error message, okay? And that error message is coming from, the first require statement, this one here, okay? Now, by changing to a different account, not marked as contributor, I can try and call approve request again with an argument of 0. So I'll do that. I'll change to this one and call it again with an argument of 0. There we go. That's where you get. So the transaction has been reverted to initial state. The constructor should be payable if you send out. Okay. And that's happening because I have not yet donated to the campaign. All right, so this is working as expected. This is working good. So in a subsequent video, I still have some work to do. I need to finalize the request and process it and get the money distributed to the recipient. And I'll work on that in the subsequent video. See you then.